All right, we're getting into map number 1, but the quick disclaimer here, guys, I'm still pretty sick. So you're going to hear a couple of sniffles and sneezes and coughs and nose blowing, and I just want to apologize in advance for that, because I'll try and keep it to a minimum. But, my body wants what my body wants. And what my body wants is some StarCraft 2. This is the Ting Open. Make sure to check out bttv.ting.com with that sick transition. Get $25 in credit, sign up for Ting, and, well, frankly, save esports all at the same time. Spawning here at the top right side, he's, of course, got the nickname for him. It's going to be uThermal, a.k.a. uThermal.
The bottom left as the blue Protoss, he's Liquid MaNa.
So really quick, interesting point to note. I really, every time we've seen MaNa, I keep forgetting it, but today's the first time I come locked and loaded with remembering how aggressive this new MaNa has been looking, how assertive he's been with his pylons, I'm loving seeing the way he's been treating Terran players. As much as I, as a Terran player, hate it, I actually really like seeing MaNa do well.
Okay, buddy. You like seeing other people suffer? There's a word for that in German.
Yeah, what is it?
I can't remember. It's a really long one. But it does exist.
Okay, well, I'm glad you brought that up, Zombie Girl.
Dude, we have enough German fans. They're watching. I totally get it.
Alright, so 2 racks opener to go for the wall off. 2 racks are not so insane on a map like this when you've got command centers coming down so early.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I like that he trapped in the probe with it. That's kind of cute.
Sure. MaNa has been pretty aggressive with the pylons, that's for sure. In terms of all-ins, not exactly super common from him. We just see him doing a lot of early game damage, and then probably ending the game a little bit farther on. uThermal is, of course, a really good Terran player. This guy obviously got to this point, so they did a qualifier, sometimes more than one qualifier. They didn't get through the first one, or maybe even 2 if they went to the wild card. And then another group stage with some fairly impressive players, and everyone in the round of 16 should be pretty damn good.
Well, I was going to say, what's kind of interesting is, these guys went through the rigmarole of those big qualifiers, and of course they went through their first group stage already. And uThermal had a group where he played against Hearthstone, I believe. Actually, I don't think he actually played against Hearthstone. Hearthstone went out pretty quick, didn't he?
Did Hearthstone get 2-0'd?
I'll have to tab out between games to check. I remember actually just thinking, I don't think uThermal actually played Hearthstone at any point. Because I was going to start talking about the TvP there, but I'm remembering no games from that section.
Didn't. He got 2-0'd, Lambo and Bly. So
this is the first time we're going to see uThermal then come up against Protoss in this whole tournament. Now the thing I find really interesting about this, right, is every time we see uThermal, he'll throw in that odd game where he'll just do the proxy raxes, and it looks like he's just kind of throwing it in the towel, right? Like this either works or it doesn't, and if he's out, he doesn't really care type thing. But every time his control ends up being good enough to win, and his his macro and his secret build order is kind of on the low side of the scale. His control of his units is always really, really good. Responding to things like warp prisms, I don't imagine will be too problematic. And we'll see how this plays out. Now there's of course a lot of racks that came down to make sure he wouldn't die to things like oracles or anything behind this. And gonna get the production finally flowing. Third CC finishes up before Stim even begins. But MaNa behind all of this is going for Dark Templar.
Ah yes, Dark Templar.
Oh,
no
we got a new sub. Hoofprint 09. We still I'm starting to just get all paranoid about this. We are still going up in sub numbers. That's Hoofprint, you're gonna be subscriber number 1193.
Ooh,
we're almost a full 300 above our goal from what is almost 2 weekends ago.
That's pretty impressive.
But of course, it is 2 weekends from now when we're gonna see all the numbers drop off and start feeling the pain. And Asphalt, of course, hits us with a 23-month resub as well. Thank you so much. Now, the bunker at the front's pretty nice. It's going to stop Adepts from being able to just kind of roll up and take down depots. Obviously, MaNa didn't go for those pylons. But regardless, for uThermal, it's a pretty safe way to have his wall set up while he gets production going.
Yeah. The DTs really shouldn't be doing a lot of damage with 3 CCs and missile turrets already down. The missile turrets, I don't know exactly what prompted him to get it. He saw not much just robotics. And they're not really going to help out that much against a War Prism unless the War Prism tries to micro in the mineral line. But he's really going to be glad that he got him. Maybe he still has play console not researching or something like that. I barely got a glimpse of it.
No, what I imagine is for uThermal is it is just that safety check. You're playing really defensive in the first place. You put a bunker at the top of your ramp. You don't know whether it's an Oracle. I mean, you've seen the robot, but you don't know whether there's maybe something else coming up. This is a bit of a strange SimCity is setting up here instead of taking a third.
Yeah, I guess you just really wanted to land that mule before putting it over there. Huh.
Actually, I would go far as to take one step further back. uThermal is the type of player who actually does his homework, and MaNa has shown a considerable amount of DT play. So I would actually wager that these turrets are pretty educated guesses and not just a blind safety.
Of course, you saw MaNa yesterday, actually, one of the most recent guys that we got to cast. Where some of these guys we actually, last time we cast them was like, 1.5, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so actually, a point on that for MaNa. A lot of people, I made the post that commented on the blind seeding as I decided to nickname it. MaNa was one of these guys who had very strict time constraint requirements. And I said, well, dude, if you want to play tomorrow, you can play tomorrow, but it's like, up to you. And this was the only time he could play, unfortunately, so... maybe this is good for him, maybe it's not. Knock it out of the way, have some rest before the round of 8. Maybe it's bad because you're still stressed from having played recently. IEM into another TING group,
Yeah.
This DT's been kind of left as a solid ninja, patience being its greatest virtue.
Right. So MaNa didn't actually play against anyone like uThermal, I should say, because he definitely played against Terran. He played against Lily Canine and Marine Lord. But Lily Canine, unfortunately, did go out kind of easily.
What happened with Marine Lord yesterday, man? Like...
I don't know, and yeah, exactly. Marine Lord played a very, very different style, so he just went for a bunch of one base and cheeses, which obviously uThermal is not doing right here, and that's actually that was not what told him that MaNa's doing DTs, but I know that MaNa's been doing DTs in PvZ and PvP, so I mean it only makes sense that they would try a PvT macro DT, because of course this is on 3 base. But this drop is doing quite a bit of damage. There's only one pylon available, not even really worth. Yeah, it definitely wasn't worth with the mothership core going down too. Just instantly picks up right before the Blink Stalkers get there.
Good control here out of uThermal. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, he did halt the attack from the DT, so not taking anything else. The Immortals get triggered. Unfortunately, the Stalkers do pick up the medevac this time, but still 20 probes dead for a full medevac? I'd say it's worth it for the Terran player in that situation.
Oh yeah, definitely. That is a lot of damage. Now, it looks like uThermal is going to be waiting for a lot of his tech to finish up before pushing out. So, like, the question is, really, how long can MaNa have to recuperate from that? And will it not look such a big deal? But he's actually putting out with his bio. I guess he's going to reinforce with his Liberators on the way.
Yeah, the Observer sees all this, too. I like the Ghosts Academy following it up. EMP is going to be great, but I actually don't know how this is going to go as far as a fight. Because for MaNa, he lost the Mothership Core. It's not remade it, so it's not going to photon overcharges. Maybe Storms if you can buy enough time, but really, 2 Immortals and 2 Sentries being his greatest assets here, Blink Stalkers being kind of whatever for the Marauders, this is going to be a really weird fight. Jobs into the natural base once again while this happens, but MaNa gets his warp in, so he's ready to deal with it.
Yeah.
Disengages off the front.
I think MaNa has enough against this army, and uThermal really, like, with the fact that he had an armory, a second engineering bay on the way, he was going to wait for his +1 armor anyways, a Ghost Academy put down, and Liberators. It really felt like he wasn't really going to try and end the game with that small Bioforce. I thought maybe he was going to contain, as he just sat outside, but he's going to go return home just in case, I guess, he gets blinked upon and doesn't want to get surprised by that, as MaNa is pushing out to look for that army, but also to take a 4th base.
He's got to be careful, though. He's not the one who's got the supply lead right now.
No, he's not. He does have Splash, but only like a tiniest bit. This one High Templar that he warped in.
Yeah, upgrade's also looking very favorable for uThermal too. It's gonna be 1-1 versus 1-1 for a time, but it's oh dear, 4 medevacs loaded up. We got a new sub also, Shook Nasty 69. Great name, great number. Thank you so much for that sub. As these medevacs go across the map, though, I really feel like Doom drops are not what does it for a lot of the great Terrans we watch. People like Polt and others. When you watch these drops, it goes crazy because they're dropping in 4 different locations and they're doing enough damage in 4 different locations. You go for one big Doom drop like this, MaNa sees this with a pylon. He's going to be reaching out for those feedbacks. uThermal might lose everything before he even gets a chance to use it. But looks like MaNa's slightly out of position. He's rushing back home. He wants to be in position for these medevac drops. This draws him out of position of his 4th.
Mm-hmm. This is going to be potentially a lot of damage. Skips past that third base, seeing the High Templar and the Zealot's already warped in, scans the natural, sees a bunch of Blink Stalkers, and actually just is going to stick in limbo. I mean, if he dropped on the third base, it probably wouldn't go so badly. It would be one feedback, maybe a storm, actually, but he'd actually be able to unload quite a bit of cargo. It takes a fight over here.
That's some actual focus fire, too, from the Liberators. He had those clicked as he focused down the Templar. I mean, nothing else would stop his bio. Marauders push in, and this base is going to go down along with a couple of Immortals. And, of course, MaNa can't respond. He has to keep his Stalkers here. The second he takes those away, quad drops go into his natural base. This is getting really good for uThermal. Of course, he still has that one Liberator up.
Yeah. MaNa desperately needed that fourth base. I don't know if he's going to get another one now with that Liberators kind of sieging up, and he's got every drop to worry about.
Literally half the army for each player is what ended up going down there. It just ended up being much better for uThermal composition-wise. We got a $5 donation coming in from Terminator 101. He says, Rifkin, should I get a burger delivered or a pizza? Also, Nerf Zerg. Oh, you know what? You can't get burgers delivered too often where I live. You can get pizza anytime, though. I'd say get a burger. TBH. We get like a chicken burger. It's slightly better for you.
Ugh.
Plus, they're delicious.
No way. I don't like chicken burgers. But we have another drop in the main base.
Doesn't matter because the question wasn't asked to you, alright? So calm down there, Sandra.
He didn't ask if you wanted a chicken burger, though. That's just for a hamburger.
No, he said burger.
That's true. Damn. Could have been anti-burger.
Double checkmate.
Could have been a turkey burger.
There are like 3 different fights going on right now, and uThermal's going to win 2 out of 3 of them by the looks of it. Natural base for MaNa does get held, but at the cost of only, I guess, trading out at the front. Doesn't really lose, doesn't really win, just pushes back. Meanwhile, in the main, loses a Robo, loses a couple of the units that were there defending. And again, uThermal comes out of this just looking magnificent.
Yeah. uThermal just looks dominant in this game, but MaNa is holding on, and he does have a couple of opportunities to come back into this game for sure. Like Storm can do a lot if the EMP zone hits, and he could maybe get his own War Prism and start harassing uThermal. That's really what's been missing, is uThermal worrying about his side of the map. He's just been able to entirely focus on his drops, on his army control, and that was not a great start to the fight. EMPs go down. The Ghosts died.
You know what, though? These charge lots are looking good. I'm actually really liking this choice over the Adepts in this situation, but it's still a situation where he's bleeding them in 1 or 2 at a time. Drop goes off on the main once again. Pylons depowered here. The DT might actually be able to hold this drop alone, but in the meantime, no EMPs required. Still just kiting down this army.
Yeah.
Stim is one hell of a drug.
Yes, it is. And of course, he didn't really want to continue taking that engagement because eventually he would just stim his army to death. One Archon splash would have killed everything. So they both disengaged from each other. Unfortunately, though, MaNa was taking all of this damage from this main drop. He's out half the army supply of uThermal, and of course uThermal has been on that fourth base for quite some time, finishing up his upgrades too. And with that Forge dying, it means MaNa's not even going to try. He's at 2-1 versus 3-3.
Well, Liberator's going to set up some zones in which MaNa will not easily be able to fight. Yeah, we haven't hit that point where it's like 16 Liberators and there's just no way to break the line. Well, the 2 Liberators are kind of cutting it because MaNa doesn't really have a lot of anti-air. You know, there's not enough Stalkers to really blink into the side. There's no, like, a couple of Storms, really. And his 4th goes down again. MaNa may be better off trying to take a Ninja base at this point. I don't know.
I mean, that would be... It would be cool to see. There is 1 or 2 spots, of course, on Dusk Towers that these usually do not scout. But takes probably his last engagement here. A couple of Storms going down, some good splits from uThermal, but he has that wide concave anyways, so even without the splits, he probably would have been okay.
GG. Map 1 gonna go to uThermal. And nicely done at that. Mr. Boris Makarov has a key he wants to give away, but I actually don't actually... hang on.
Next map's going to be Prion Terraces.
Okay, 1 sec here. I'm trying to see Mr. Boris wants to like maybe raffle off in Discord or something. I don't have the energy to be running back and forth between the bot today. I barely have enough to sit here and cast. So okay, he says okay, I can do that. So here's what's going to happen. There's a game key. Mr. Boris Makarov is going to be raffling off, and he's going to be doing it through Discord. So if you guys are on our Discord server, if you're a subscriber to the channel or otherwise, hop in Discord. And Mr. Boris Makarov is going to raffle off a game key over there. So if you want to win something for free, I have no idea what it is, but if you want to win something for free, go check it out. But we are in the lobby. I'm good to go whenever they are.
Alright.
Alright. And oh wait, I gotta add $5 to Nerf Zerg before I forget. 27. All right, see you guys here in a sec. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Game number 2 in this best of 5 for the TING Open. Spawning in the bottom right side of the map, he's up 1-0. It's uThermal.
In the top left as the blue Protoss, he is Liquid MaNa. He is down 1. So, this tournament is, of course, brought to you by TING. Is the name of the tournament after that. TING Open, not the TING Invitational, like some other people might say. And we are into the round of 16, actually. So 2 group stages, a bunch of qualifiers, still the entire bracket of the round of 8 and above to go. That's a lot of content being brought to you, and of course, for a very, very good prize pool, $5,000. Not too much to shake your head out there. And it's all brought to you by TING. So it's a United States mobile phone company, and it goes by rates instead of plans. And of course, a lot of you have already heard about it, and hopefully they've caught your interest a little bit. I know some of you have been saying that you're interested, but maybe in the future. Well, the good news is that they plan on doing more if they can actually get enough signups. And we're actually really good on the signups.
So yeah, the signups are interesting.
Up.
I don't have an updated number because if you guys were hanging out in chat yesterday, you learned Jesse is actually going on a bit of a vacation. He's been hanging out in chat for almost every single cast. And even while he was at the airport flying out to Colorado, he stopped in to watch some StarCraft 2 with us. And unfortunately, he won't be able to give us up-to-date numbers until he's back. But last count was we were at 40-something signups with about close to 30 activations. Of course, we want 40 activations in total. Gives us another tournament. So that's 40 people who actually get a TING SIM card, actually try TING out and use it. So we're pretty close. I'm very confident at this rate. Even if it's just one person per broadcast, we'll probably hit 40 by the final. So I'm quite excited to do more work with TING in the future. Because the thing I've enjoyed most is they've been just super chill about everything. Drama doesn't matter. They just want good games. They want some fun. And the best part is the guy involved, Jesse, loves StarCraft.
Yeah, there's a lot of passion there. And they enjoy us, which is always, nice. So, of course, we like that.
People appreciate we've got a zombie group. It's kind of cool, too. So, I was thinking, and of course, it doesn't really work on a gold-based map all the time, but I was thinking for MaNa, I was hoping to see him actually get aggressive. It almost feels like that's his response, right? Okay, I lost the game, I tried to play macro, time to 2 pylon up, time to 1 base all in, time to do a warp prism. That sort of mentality is what we've been seeing consistently and constantly from him against Terrans in this tournament.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to Denver SC2. So weird that you're out of Colorado.
Denver, the last dinosaur.
Oh, you always bring that up. I'm just like...
He's our friend and a whole lot more.
Still not. Anyway, yeah, we have a scan going down. So uThermal really is playing quite safe here. I mean, that last game was just the epitome of safety. And then this game, he is not going for a third CC or blind missile turrets yet, but he is going for that 1-1-1 up to Cyclone and just a drop to add some aggression.
Donation, by the way, I need to read out now rather than later because I love the idea. He says, we need a StarCraft 2 show match with BaseTradeTV casters. Zompire versus Darkon. Nerf Toscas, kick them while they're down. $5 donation coming from HoofFriend09.
Who's Darkon?
That's
Dragon and Tempo?
Yeah, they call themselves the Darkon.
That's what I figured, but I don't know. We beat them pretty easily.
We'd have to put a handicap. We'd have to do 80% health. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You hear that Tempo and Fear Dragon? If you ever listen to the VOD, come at us.
Yep.
No, we do fun stuff like that sometimes anyways, but I'd be down for some funsies matches sometime. Once we're done with TING and all this other stuff, because we've been pretty dang busy trying to wrap this up. This week is a solid week of casting. Every single day this week we've dedicated to TING, guys. 1 group a day into the round of 8, into the semifinals, into the grand finals. So when we get some downtime, we'll consider it. But thank you for the donation nonetheless. A bit of elevator play to uThermal. You know what? MaNa doesn't have vision. He's not going to see this coming until it's too late. Oh no.
And it's a very interesting drop because usually you do not bring the Cyclone into a drop, and you only occasionally bring it on the front lines to begin with. Oh yeah, the Marines and both get it.
No,
so it's
overcharge. Surprise, MaNa.
Uh-oh. Well, this is already going to do a lot of damage. He went for a fairly greedy third base, which I thought maybe uThermal scouted, and that's why he was being so aggressive with the Cyclone, but he did not.
Cyclone dancing around the backside, didn't want to go down to the Stalkers, but Marines started to trade out for a lot of probes. Mothership Core, medevac goes down, but Oh, uThermal once again comes in, hits hard early, and MaNa takes 10 probe losses, a severe depowering, as there's no observers, which means no immortal production, and of course the mothership core going down. All kinds of bad for MaNa.
Yeah. That was desperate fallback, you know, with those probes being pulled. Now we have a Liberator on the way that is going to scout this third base and maybe be able to siege up, but I think he's really going for the natural. More Liberators too, this isn't the only one. Third base on the way for uThermal. Now what he gave up to do that drop was stim and combat shields, just to do the build that he did in general, whether it's defensive or offensive.
But if we can deny mining off this third, this gold base would have been MaNa's recovery. And it is utterly denied for the time being. Stalker's actually... Ooh, if MaNa had... didn't have Blink, actually, that could have been dangerous. But
yeah.
In the heat of battle, we got another new subscriber. Ro16. Hot damn.
I don't understand, but it's really cool.
Yeah, it's like... I don't think... You know what it is? We hit puberty, right? And now we're beautiful, and we just haven't realized it yet, okay? Now we're popular. We gotta deal... Just learn it. Learn to deal with it.
Yeah, I guess so. We've reached those stages. So I believe this was scouted by the Observer. And the Zelnaga, like both. MaNa was pretty well in position to deal with that. A couple probes gonna go down here, maybe? Just one.
Nope.
Not even. He attacked the Stalker.
Yeah, it strips the shields and a little bit of health. While this goes on, though, I mean, uThermal... We've talked about this a lot when it comes to this map. I really like this normal base at the third over the gold base in a lot of situations. For MaNa, for the next little while, he'll have a nice little mineral spike. But that's also going to run out very, very quick. And by the time uThermal's got a massed out army, 200, it's going to be really hard to secure this base. Unless MaNa actually blinks to the main, catches that tank a little off guard. It gets about 2 shots off, but of course the bio's out of position. Everything was ready to defend the third. Not the main. Not expecting this attack.
No, this is a pretty good one. If it found Stim, which it actually does, but it's not going to be able to target fire it, that would have been totally worth it.
I'm kind of jaded, though, because we do see tank production, and so far the track record of tanks doing well versus Protoss on stream is not that high.
It's so difficult to get them to do well offensively. Like, they're actually great defensively. That's why we see
what happened
them.
over here?
I'm not sure, but that's
Someone
right
left
now.
the oven on. Jesus.
But yeah, as long as you have medevacs, you're gonna great defensively. It really does depend on positioning for the offense, and it really depends on the style too that they're going for. But more on talk about the defense. The tank that was at the third does get immediately sniped. There's a nice pickoff from MaNa, who by the way has not been that bad in the economy. So his army really didn't fall down as hard as I thought it was after that drop did so much damage.
I really thought this was going to be a lot worse for him, but his recovery process has been good so far. He's not looking too shabby. The blink aggression is a little bit surprising, kind of goes a bit old school with it, but gets stuck in a pretty bad spot as we're giving him compliments.
Whoops, that was like almost half of his army that went down there, so that was not the greatest follow-up. MaNa did say that he's feeling kind of bad today. Just giving some context to, I guess, the whole entire group, so he wanted to get started as soon as possible. I don't think it's really reflecting in his play yet, you know, it's actually been a pretty good back and forth, but it might affect him later on in the day. Of course, it's a nice, bright, sunny afternoon for me, and I guess kind of morning-ish for you, but from Europe, it's getting to that nighttime. Betty time.
Betty time or Betty time?
Betty.
Like the lady?
D, Betty. Betty.
I don't think she's got double D's. I mean, she's old, Betty White. But I don't think sagginess makes up for... Okay, never mind. We got this attack coming in, and of course there's bunkers, there's tanks. Everything's kind of set up here for what should be a good defensive fight for uThermal, but everything's also very spread out is the problem.
Yeah, MaNa is really taking advantage of his aggression. I really like the inclusion of a fourth gold base here. We rarely ever see these middle bases used unless it's kind of... the person's already won and they're just kind of kidding around. But to kind of take advantage of how defensive uThermal is being in not only this game, but the last, banking on him not being, the one to push out until sometime later. So he's like super, super confident. He might be able to get away with the fourth base, not only just like with the time that he's buying, but also because uThermal will he even scout it?
Whoa.
Will he even go over there?
MaNa's got a problem. He's got a gold base problem. He's addicted.
Oh, I was like, is it off center? Like, what are you talking about?
No, this is just like you just don't see people take this base, man.
Yeah, exactly. But I like it. I like that it's part of the game plan. But when uThermal is ready to push, he might be pushing towards that third base, and then of course on the way scout the fourth. And I'm not sure you're going to be able to save that fourth as MaNa. We have Colossus already on the way. Now, this wouldn't be so surprising if uThermal was already on his way to Liberators too, but MaNa either is expecting the transition because we saw Liberators in the last game, or just like Colossus, because they are consistent splash damage as opposed to Disruptors or High Templar. But uThermal, like, I don't... Concaves were good against Colossus. If he sees this, he might go for Vikings, which are still, you know, a good counter to them.
This is the second time I've looked away for a moment and come back and that missile turret's on fire. What keeps happening down here?
I don't know.
I'm getting a little bit worried. There's like, there's some... The reason uThermal's not doing so well is because he's got like a spy in his midst sabotaging his buildings. Now, actually, I don't think uThermal knows about the middle gold base, right? No, this is such a weird base to take. It's almost a secret base despite its forward location, but it will be on the warpath as uThermal's looking to go around the side of the map. Hiwu hits us up with a 19-month resub. Big love.
Nice. Yeah, so this is what I was worried about, you know, and now they're both going to have the option of a concave. But the problem is, of course, that uThermal could have just sniped it if he really wanted to. Ooh, look at those skinned Colossus. Ooh, so fancy.
Oh, yeah. Tal'Darim. Tal'Darim, baby. This concave was really nice for uThermal to start with, and as the zealots start dissipating, that's where the Marauders are really going to power through. Those siege tanks also being untouched for a majority of the fights.
Yeah, I think the abuse on the high ground was really good here. This is the position that tanks need and want. Otherwise, you don't do so well against them.
This was a phenomenal fight. Look at the army supply now coming out of this from MaNa, down to 25. And you know, I made jokes and jabs about the tanks, but I mean they worked out fantastic here. Like I don't think that would have worked better with any other units.
If they were in the back, you know, they were actually shelling on top of those Colossus. The Colossus do not deal as much damage as they did in Heart of the Swarm, and that actually is a big issue against, you know, Marauder-heavy compositions. And tanks, utilized correctly, can actually target fire Colossus, which is not a bad idea in some situations.
Tanks do still outrange Colossus 13 versus 9 when it comes to range, even with Extended Thermal Lance, so... that's one of the nice things about them, but it's still I don't know, this is such a weird situation. MaNa has got so little supply, just lost 2 very critical bases to us for gas mining, if nothing else. uThermal's just going to drop the tanks. He doesn't give a fuck. Targets down that first Colossus, falls immediately. The Immortals go down, and now the Bio's going to stim clean us up, and GG.
Those
uThermal.
Colossus almost look hallucinated with how quickly they go down and the coloring on them.
I was gonna say, where's this going? Shots fired. Yeah, those. Oh my gosh, those like 6 tanks focus firing down 1. Hot damn.
Next map will be Orbital Shipyard, and the other 2 maps will be Lairlac and Ruins. No one wants to play on Detox. No one won't.
Which one's next? Sorry.
Orbital.
Orbital. Okay, let me get that loaded up. Yeah, these guys who keep vetoing Detox, they're doing it because they haven't played much on it, which is fine, because some people got a lot of practice for that map on account of the fact that we use it in all of our tournaments, not just this one. But, you know, with the semifinals being best of 7s and the grand finals being a best of 9, they are going to play Detox at some point, whether they like it or not. And it hopefully, maybe once they get out of the round of 16, they're like, okay, maybe I'll put some practice into this map. But there are some people like Snoot in this tournament and some others who've been playing our other tournaments frequently enough that they have played Detox. So that's actually going to be a pretty nice map advantage, knowing that map.
It's a good point. Thinking about the finals of this tournament seems so far off, but it's actually creeping up on us.
Well, we're getting into Orbital Shipyard, folks. Where's this intro? Alright, we'll see you guys here in just a moment. Alright, folks, we're back for the TING Open, game number 3 here in the first best of 5 in the round of 16. Not just this group, but the entire round of 16. Spawning in the top right side, it's going to be the blue Protoss, Team Liquid's MaNa, who is one of 2 Protoss left in the tournament at this point.
In the bottom left as the green Terran, he's uThermal.
Now, uThermal's been playing pretty fantastic in this game, much less in the days we've seen him recently. He really does seem to go in waves, though, of being like that go-to god that earns the nickname Maru Thermal. It's these days where it just feels like he's depressed in his play and he's tweeting about retiring. Like, I'm not sure where the mentality factor sits for him, but I'm glad to see we've got the really strong uThermal showing up today, because not only are these games looking like, you know, the build order's solid, the control from the drops is great, but he's really not making a lot of mistakes. You know, there's times where you're like, well, I guess missile turrets aside, there's a lot of times where you watch a Terran player, and even if they're doing really well, you're still like, oh, why'd they do that, or why'd they do this? I can't really say that for a lot of what uThermal's been doing. He's just been nailing it.
He has been playing so conservative. It is hard for MaNa to really find an opening, you know? The Blink Stalkers last game kind of started to find that opening and started to, you know, hit the correct cracks in uThermal's armor, but then, you know, made one too many mistakes and he just got steamrolled at the end of the day. So a player like this, a style like this, I guess, is going to be hard for the Protosses in general, who are having difficulty in the matchup. Unfortunately, Protoss is finding it difficult in Legacy of the Void at this time. Of course, we have some experimentation. You know, those Colossus that came out probably were because they do seem to be a good answer against Liberator play, but it wasn't Liberator play.
As awesome as it would be for uThermal to be like this new TvP god, sad thing is, as we mentioned, MaNa is one of 2 Protoss in the entire tournament, the other one being Naniwa at this point. So your Protoss could be good enough, or your TvP could be good enough to take on even like the best Koreans in the world, but if there's no Protoss to fight, it serves you no justice.
That's a good point. I mean, uThermal might be really quite confident in this matchup, but then, well, of course, we'll have to work on every other matchup after this. As MaNa, like I said, he's not feeling so hot. It's not that he's playing super badly, but that is going to affect you if you're going to be down 2-0. If you go down 3-0 and you go into the losers match, it's also not going to be too hot. And, well, I just hope that he can actually do something here. You know, Naniwa being the other Protoss, I think Naniwa does have a different style at times than MaNa. They both can be oddly aggressive, as MaNa showcased, versus the other matchups and other players. But a different style might be able to do well against uThermal if they ever face each other. Of course, we don't quite know what that round of 8 is going to look like, or if Naniwa's even going to pass it. As he has his own tough group to go through, which is going to be played on Thursday. No, wait, yeah, Thursday.
So it's, again, maybe a little bit to do with knowing MaNa, maybe a little bit to do with just that it's a nice, safe thing to do for Terran. Really love this bunker down here, though. This keeps those pylons from going up next to here and tearing down supply depots and reactors and just causing all kinds of chaos for Terran.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to be an Oracle, and uThermal's actually not super prepped for this. If he leaves the Widow Mine in the mineral lines, waits for the hit, and then goes for the drop, cool, fantastic. In fact, he doesn't even have a starport, so this is just actually a defensive Widow Mine. And he should be good to deal with this Oracle.
Even if it was a drop, until you have that medevac actually out and about, you should always put the Widow Mine in your mineral line, just in case. So it was a defensive setup, which is kind of funny to see. Defensive Widow Mines were like the very first build to come out in Heart of the Swarm when Oracles were introduced, because Oracles was such like a big deal back then. So see it again here is a little odd. Usually if you see 2 barracks in a factory and they hold off on the starport, it's actually to get a Cyclone defensively, but this time it was just a Widow Mine. We'll see if he does go ahead and just like maybe do like a 1 or 2 Widow Mine drop in the future. Getting a reactor out of those medevacs pretty quickly. The Oracle comes into the right side where the Marines are already set, so this isn't going to do anything.
Well, that gives, driven away. Second Oracle coming in, can certainly take on some Marines. This probe left down here, I've been trying to keep an eye on it. I guess just kind of keeping it alive for potential pylons later. Not a bad choice, especially if he starts getting choked into his own base. But, MaNa's on 3 Nexus. uThermal doesn't have a 3rd CC coming down. This is where it does get a little bit scary, because on one hand, you're like, great, MaNa's going to have this nice economy, macro. But if he gets hit with a 2-base build and doesn't have what it takes to defend it, that 3rd base falls really quick.
Yeah, that is certainly true. I mean, I like this response from MaNa. He kind of tried to do it last game with that early gold base, but then that drop did so much damage that it kind of made up for that. So to do it again on this map where there wasn't as early as a drop, and this one's going to be seen, obviously, hopefully it will go a lot better for MaNa.
I love this. He's like, okay, Revelation, don't give a fuck. It just picks up and just starts heading across the map with all these Marines. Now, of course, he's going to pre-unload them, so he's not going to actually have to deal with getting caught with those medevacs. And, Stim's done. Convoy Shield's not, but Stim is done.
Uh-oh.
No
he scans
pylons?
for the Mothership Core and the pylons, probably, and sees nugs.
Oh, gosh.
Stim and win?
I mean, kind of. MaNa doesn't really have anything to do with that. This is where
Oracles.
the Oracle's going to be really nice. Focuses one down, almost gets the other, picks up with the Medivacs, gets out of there. 7 probes killed. This guy is so good at getting worker kills in the early game. But
Yeah.
every time, it's less and less and less, worth noting. So it goes from like 20 to 10, this time to 7. Either MaNa's getting better at defending, or uThermal's just getting worse at attacking. Either way, MaNa's not in a terrible spot coming after this, because this didn't even up the worker count. Keep in mind, MaNa has had this third base up and running for a long time. In fact, income...
Yeah.
Funny enough, actually, I guess mules are good, but for the most part, it's been MaNa.
So, I mean, that could have been a lot worse. That was not a lot of an army, and without those frozen overcharges, that was quite scary. But MaNa does hold, and I think I agree with you. I think he actually did not take enough damage to put him behind. Like, that third base is still really working out for him, and he's going to continue to have to drop, defend against all of these drops. His uThermal showcase on Dusk Towers he can be very good at. Orbital Shipyard has very similar structure on your bases, so he's got to be worried about his natural, off to the left in his main, off to the left in his third, especially as the medevac count starts to grow. His Mothership Core is trying to protect the natural. I guess is where he's expecting the drops to come in. That's why his Mothership Core is so late to the front, but uThermal is just backing off for now. If he plays a defensive game at this point, it should be MaNa's game to win, just because he is so ahead in that economy. But you can play defensive, get up to like a 180 army with Liberators and Bio, and still be good at almost anything, you know, like unless they already have a fleet of Tempest ready to go. He also did include tanks that are just left at home, so now he's moving out with those too. Yeah, Liberators will be rallying fourth as well, and MaNa does not have eyes on this, so he's going to be able to maybe see that the third is on the way, but then he's going to be like, where's the army? Gonna see a couple Marines. Oh, almost see a couple Marines. Oh, he doesn't even see the Marines. But he sees a scan, you know, and that's usually telling you that the army's on the way.
Well, the Marines go in for the attack, getting some free pickoffs. Nothing too dedicated. Of course, if these Adepts transfer, you can always just pick up, losing too much. It's nice to split. Looks like he was actually going to take that fight, hoping the tanks would do just enough, and the Leapfrog goes up to the front lines now. He's got to keep them alive, though, if the Adepts transfer on top of them. They are kind of exposed. Pretty expensive units to give away like that.
I do wonder about, finishing that transfer. Now he leaves the Stalkers all,
oh my God.
You know, they're going to die, and the Liberator's still alive.
Yeah, right through the Marines from the backside. New Liberator coming up, just going to sit on that ramp. Nothing else is going to come down. And MaNa's going to get 3-0'd here.
Yeah, he is. Like, that Adept's control looked questionable. Just, you know, shading and taking so long to shade and then actually going through with the shade. I mean, that might have been where that army fight went wrong. It was also just a powerful army from uThermal. And without Immortals to tank a lot of those hits, you're just taking so much splash damage. That's probably going to be it, you know? Like, third base goes down. MaNa had a really good setup, but he just was unable to defend until that setup really got him a lead in this game.
Good blink micro, just gotta say. But not good enough to win him the game. Now with how few units he has. But it appears to be somebody restreaming us, apparently. So I'm gonna go report that channel real quick.
Ты хоть как-то удар от Мариков
I'm
держишь.
gonna think it. Yeah. Well, this is just us watching the game probably just end here. MaNa down 30 army supply. Can actually be overcome, you know, in the right situation, in the right concave and whatnot, but not when you're going down a ramp. This is not going to work out into Splash and Liberators. So many gateways to use, and it's just not going to work out. MaNa really has no answer to this, and he'll be going down to the losers match. But, you know, he went down to the losers match yesterday, too, and was able to come back in the decider. So hopefully he still has his head sort of high here as he loses all of his gateways. There goes the last remnants of MaNa's army.
Yeah, I mean, the Liberators are just too hard to break. The tanks is like right there in the middle of it. Nothing to really deal with that. This just keeps snowballing wickedly out of proportion. 85 supply versus 18. GG gets called. And uThermal will take a 3-0 to kick off today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this does put us a little ahead of schedule. I'm unsure if Snoot and Kelazur will be ready to play right now. We'll contact them both in a moment to find out. But it's worth noting that Kelazur and Snoot, obviously North America versus Europe, we're going to be doing server swaps, guys. So NA-EU, NA-EU. We'll be doing a coin flip for the vetoes, as we've been doing. Then we'll do a coin flip afterwards for server priority. and they can choose whether they want to start on Europe or North America type thing. Alternatively, actually, there's no alternatively. It's West Coast versus Europe, so they're definitely going to want to do server swaps. At any rate, thank you guys for enjoying the tournament with us. We're going to get into our first sponsored ad break. Now, again, yesterday a bit of a joke made, but honest to truth kind of is that these are more infomercials more than commercials. Like, they're really informing you guys about TING and hoping to get your, I guess, awareness levels up. And if you're willing to swap, and if it's better for you, 2 thumbs up. And if it's not, then don't worry about it. But TING, the TLDR, is a U.S. mobile phone service. They're great. They've got a call center that we've actually seen, so you know they're not outsourcing a bunch of stuff. They work right out of Canada to the United States. Unfortunately, the service is only available to the United States, however. We're going to talk about coverage first today. Normally we swap these around and do them in a bit out of order, but today we'll start about coverage. They're partnered with T-Mobile and Sprint, so huge nationwide coverage. Anyways, words from our sponsors while we get this hopefully nice series underway. Got to go hunt down Snoot, and we'll see you guys soon.